It's going to be a cool day, but we're going to have a chance to kind of make an opinion about, okay, what's going on with the impeachment today, and how do we feel it fits in with society? Like, what's going on today with impeachment? But before we do that, we got to learn about what impeachment is, right? So we know all these things in the news. Impeachment is one of the most easily confused things in American government. A lot of adults don't really understand what impeachment is. And honestly, by just rereading it today and over the last couple weeks, it's a good refresher for me too, because it's one of those things that's kind of complicated, but you guys will figure it out today and we'll have no problems with this. So overall, it's going to be a great day. So I'm going to skip CNN to start because I want to make sure we have time to do all the stuff we want to do. If we want to do some outside research, you guys can have time to do that. If you guys want to find some cool videos to help you, I want you guys to be able to do those things today. So if we have time at the end, we'll watch CNN, but we'll see how this goes. You guys are my guinea pigs, because I've not done this lesson yet, so this is the first time. Sound good?
Are we looking at cow moves?
No. So, here's what you guys are going to do first. So you guys aren't doing exit tickets today. I'm giving you guys a break on the writing. We did a lot of that yesterday. So here's what I'm going to ask you guys to do. Read the question and just think about it for a minute by yourself. Instead of writing it, think about what you would write, right? So think about what are high crimes and misdemeanors. I'm going to give you a hint. We're going to learn about what that is today. So if you don't know, that's okay. If you had to guess, what do you think that means? Right? Think about it for another 30 seconds by yourself. Quiet. Once you're done with that, you've kind of gotten your answer, okay? Also, I'm going to ask you guys to please read the I can't statement on the board. Just that's going to be what you will know at the end of the day today. Okay, go ahead and talk to somebody front, back, side to side, whatever. Talk to a partner about what you think high crimes and misdemeanors are.
I don't know.
I think it's
Excited about
Like,
exactly.
Hey, somebody leave your,
I mean,
your Trump paper, man.
No.
See what happens. You might.
Picture right there.
Yeah, well, I'll shoot you. I'll let you try. But no big deal. If you got to leave, you'll get one. What's up? Like who? Back up here.
That's exact. Those were your exact words.
Alright. So, what are our thoughts here? Hey, grab a seat. What are our thoughts? What do we think? What do we get out of that? High crimes and misdemeanors. What are some guesses? Some good thoughts. Katie.
High crimes, like murder.
Okay? So, high crimes would be like capital crimes. So, Katie's getting at like, okay, high crimes has got to be something major, right? Like a capital crime murder. Okay, exactly.
High crimes like war crimes and betraying one's country.
Okay, so like war crimes. Okay? That'd be an example of high crimes. Katie.
A misdemeanor,
Yeah, what's a misdemeanor?
like getting pulled over and having alcohol underage.
Yeah, so that actually changed recently. So I think getting pulled over and having alcohol would probably be a misdemeanor, but they just recently changed. You guys probably don't know this, hopefully not yet at least. MIPs changed from a misdemeanor to a civil infraction recently.
Was that better? Or what?
So it got better. Better in terms of the punishment is easier. So it used to be, if you got a minor in possession at college or whatever, if you had an MIP, which is like you had alcohol and you were 21, or you were drinking and you were 21, say you're 20 in 6 months, you can still get an MIP. Instead of it being, you have to go to a couple classes, you got to go to court, you got to plead guilty and take these offenses. I had a friend that, this situation happened. By the time it was said and done, he basically paid, I think it was like $1,500. And it was kind of one of those weird situations where it was kind of just out of his control, and he admitted that he was guilty and still got the $1,500. Had to go to court, had to drive all over the state of Michigan for some classes. Yeah, just for a one-time offense like that. But now they recently changed it to where now I'm not encouraging you guys to drink or anything, but I think $1,500 is a little bit excessive for something like that. They changed it to where now it's just you pay a bill. It's basically like a speeding ticket. So it will count against you if you got multiple, but if you just had one thing and you paid your civil infraction ticket, it's like a ticket for speeding. That's kind of how I describe it, but that'd be a civil infraction. But yeah, I'd say misdemeanor. If you're driving with alcohol, then it'd be maybe even more than a misdemeanor, but for sure a misdemeanor. What else? Other thoughts? Like I said, we're going to cover this today, so don't be worried if you don't quite understand that. But you guys are getting like straight up answers, which is a good thing because honestly, we're going to read high crimes and misdemeanors. It's kind of confusing, and there's a lot of ways you can interpret that, and that happens. People have different interpretations of what that means, and we'll read about it today. Cool. So, what you're going to do.
Oh my God.
Turn it off.
Why is it a child? Is that what you just want to wake up to?
Alright. Oh, I froze, that's fine. Okay, here's what we're going to do. So you can't see the top here, but this is basically our activity. So I'm going to pass out one of these to everybody, okay? It's basically just a short little reading. This thing is basically breaks down impeachment perfectly. Like, I read through it earlier today. I kind of briefed through it. It's perfect. It's very simple. It's not really wordy. Right to the point. It describes what impeachment is, okay? It's a little front and back. And the second page is what's going to be your questions. So here is the back side. There's like 8 questions. I'm not going to ask everybody to do all 8 questions. It's a little bit excessive. So what I'm going to ask is, I'm going to give you guys the packet. You guys are going to read the entire thing, okay? Front and back sheet, that's it. I got highlighters up here. You guys can underline, you guys can highlight, whatever you guys would like to do. But I'm only going to give you one question. So there's 8 questions. We're going to save question 8 for later as a class. So 1 through 7. So I'm going to give you guys a number, and you guys are responsible for that question. So read the whole thing, answer that question, and once we're done with that, we'll go over it as a class, and we'll kind of get an idea of all of the answers to the questions. Is that cool? This probably will take us 15 minutes. And then after that, we'll get to the good stuff. Okay, so as we go over question 1, you guys are going to write down what question 1 is, right? Because that way you guys know what that is in your notes. Okay. So as Gabby and Nick describe what impeachment is, you guys are going to be listening. I'll kind of wrap it up in a nice way for your notes that you guys can get it down. Cool? Make sense? All right, cool. So Gabby, what is impeachment?
It's a legal statement of charge pursuant
Indictment?
in criminal law.
Yep. So I'm going to read that sentence again because that's straight from the reading. So what it says in bold, impeachment does not necessarily result in removal from office. I know we briefly talked about that yesterday. Impeachment, think about that, I think it was in the reading, think about that like you're getting arrested, right? So if you're going to get put in handcuffs and get put in the back of a cop car, does that mean you're guilty? No, you're innocent until proven guilty, right? That's the way the criminal court system works. So if you get arrested for something and they say, hey, we're going to take you to court, we think you did this, that does not mean you're guilty. And that's exactly what impeachment is. Too often, we think impeachment and go, yep, that means you're getting kicked out of office. No, that just means that someone is in question about what you're doing and you may get kicked out of office, but there's a second step to that, right? And I think some of us are going to cover that with your question, what the next step is, right? So, number 1, impeachment does not mean removal from office, right? Then the second part that Gabby just read was that it is a legal statement of charges. Okay? It's just a statement of charges. That's really all it is. Who remembers yesterday we talked about it and we highlighted it in our Constitution? So you guys all bring those, by the way, today?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you guys didn't bring those today, get in the habit. Those got to go in your bulletin because we're going to use those almost every single day. So bring your Constitutions. But remember, who's in charge of bringing up impeachment? Who? Nope. Another one, House of Representatives, right? The House of Representatives brings forward the motion to impeach. Then the other side of that, what's the other side? So not the House, but Senate, right? So the Senate is the one who actually tries. So it kind of makes sense because the Senate only has 100 people, so it kind of makes sense. It's an even way to do a vote. It's really simple that way. Okay. Make sure you guys have something related to what I was saying in your notes for that one. Okay. So let's move on to question 2. For what reasons might one be impeached and removed? Who's got number 2? Okay, what's up guys? Zach, you wanna go first?
Sure. Somebody could be impeached and removed for only treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors.
Okay, treasons, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors, right? Okay, make sure you have those written here.
Is that how they can be removed from office?
That's how, yes. Now, removal comes with a vote, but you can be impeached and removed based on those things. Yep. Treason, bribery, high crimes and misdemeanors. Now, I'm going to ask Jeremy to back that up. Did you read anything in the section that kind of talked about high crimes and misdemeanors and like maybe what that means? There's something in there. I saw it briefly, but I don't know if you saw it.
I don't know that the Congress may decide for itself what constitutes a high crime or misdemeanor.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Do you guys hear what Jeremy said? The House basically determines what is a high crime and misdemeanor. That's kind of like the secondary part to that. Now, treason and bribery, those are pretty straightforward, right? If you're committing treason, you're doing some behind the scenes talking, you're kind of being a little bit sneaky, you're making deals behind the scenes, that's treason, right? And bribery, that's just paying people. So, hey, I'll pay you $1 million if you keep your mouth shut or whatever. That's treason. But high crimes and misdemeanors is kind of like, it is what you make of it. If you think that's a high crime or misdemeanor, then it is. It's basically like a cover-all statement. So it makes it so if you do something bad, that can be considered a high crimes and misdemeanor, no matter if it's really all that bad or not. It's just up to interpretation. Why do you think that's in there? Why did they make sure they had high crimes and misdemeanors included in that? There's a reason. Why would they put something so loose in that? Because otherwise...
They could get rid of the things that if it's kind of like a gray area, then they could kind of find ways to get around it.
Totally. Gray area is like politics' best friend. They go hand in hand. When there's gray area, there's like, you're not sure if you should do this or that. That works out great with politics because there's a lot of ways you can interpret things, right? So it kind of gives you some freedom. You know, if this president's doing bad things, just because it's not spelled out black and white, if he's doing really bad things, we should be able to get him out. Nick, can you take your off, please? Thank you. That's simple, right? Cool. So you guys all have that for number 2, right? Okay, let's move on to number 3. Who can be impeached? Who's got question number 3? Levi and you got number 3? Good timing. Who can be impeached?
The president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States.
So president, vice president, and other offices. Is that what you said? So let's wrap that up. I want to have time to watch videos, give you guys a little bit of time to make an opinion, all right? If you want, I'm going to play the videos up. It's up to you though. Totally your call. Yep. All right, guys. Hey, here's the deal. We're moving on to question 8. So now that we know what impeachment is, we know what it's structured as. The situation with Trump, what the heck's going on, right? Like, I know some of us watch the news at home, but it's like, what's actually the issue here? We're going to watch a couple videos, a couple different perspectives. We're going to watch the CNN video, and we're going to watch the Fox News video. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but generally CNN is a little bit more liberal, and Fox News is a little bit more conservative. So based on that, there's going to be some different perspectives they're going to try to portray things, right? So we're going to watch both of them. You guys have a document you guys can read too, or use your Chromebooks. Kind of come up with your own opinion on this Donald Trump situation, right? So I'm going to play this video so we have time. Okay. You guys know Nancy Pelosi, right? Speaker of the House. Nancy Pelosi is the #1 dog in the House of Representatives.
Today, I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry. The president must be held accountable. No one is above the law.
Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, saying that everything was completely changed after President Trump came out and admitted that he did indeed in some form speak with and potentially pressure the Ukrainian president to investigate Joe Biden.
This isn't relitigating the past. This isn't relitigating the election with Hillary Clinton. This is about the president abusing his office in seeking political dirt about an election that's upcoming.
I think you have more people on the side of saying politics be damned here for a moment. There may be a real moral call that there's a constitutional responsibility here to hold the president accountable.
That call was perfect. It couldn't have been nicer. What Joe Biden did for his son, that's something they should be looking at.
This is 5-page transcript. It appears to be a nearly complete transcript of the July call where President Trump asked Ukrainian President Zelensky several times to collaborate with Attorney General Barr and his attorney, Rudy Giuliani, to look into Biden and his son Hunter. Now, he doesn't specifically mention military aid, but says the U.S. has been, quote, very, very good to Ukraine. So not an explicit quid pro quo, but the president was clearly teeing up his request to Ukraine.
Impeachment for that?
From my point of view, to impeach any president over a phone call like this would be insane.
The American people are going to view this and roll their eyes because it's going to sound to them like much of the same thing they've been hearing for the last 3 years.
So what's the process? How does impeachment work? Well, the investigation is going to go forward, and if the people in charge of the House of Representatives, the Democrats, think that there is enough to go forward with impeachment, the House Judiciary Committee will consider what's called articles of impeachment, which are specific charges. And if they vote articles of impeachment, then the full House of Representatives will vote on whether Donald Trump will be impeached. Now, if there is a majority in support of impeachment, Donald Trump doesn't lose his office. That's like a formal charge. It's like an indictment. So if Donald Trump is indicted the way Bill Clinton was impeached, then the case will go to the United States Senate. It takes 2/3, 67 votes in the Senate to remove a president from office. I think everyone believes it's very unlikely in a Republican-controlled Senate.
Impeaching Trump could
Everybody
epically
said there,
backfire.
everything kind of matters depending on the numbers. So right now, you look at the Senate and you know what's going to happen to get 67 people in the Senate to agree to remove Trump. That means that some Republicans and a good amount of Republicans are going to have to vote against Trump to have him removed. Now, that doesn't always mean that Republicans are always going to vote with Trump, because that doesn't happen. There's a lot of Republicans that don't agree with some of the things Trump's doing. But generally, they're going to align with him. There might only be a few that step out away from that party. So if the Republicans control the Senate, that means that there's like 52 Republicans and like 48 Democrats. That means a lot of Republicans are going to have to vote against Trump for this to actually happen, right? To have him removed. So chances are right now, the numbers aren't working out for removal favor, right? In this current situation.
Democrats heading into the 2020 election cycle. They've got plenty of races to focus on winning instead of trying to undo a race that they, sorry Democrats, already lost. It would, simply put, turn Trump into a victim, a place he loves to be. Impeaching Trump in the House without a real chance of the Senate following suit hands the president the ability to say that Democrats hate him so much that they are unfairly targeting him and ignoring their responsibilities to the country.
I like the point that he made at the end too, because a lot of people, including Trump, if you look at his tweets, and we have time, we'll hopefully look at some of them. I might even have you guys look at them at home for homework. A lot of times, he's saying that this is all just a big witch hunt, is what he says. Basically, Democrats are trying to impeach him because they don't have any chance of winning the next election, and they want to make Trump look really bad as well they can, because there's no chance they can actually impeach him. They
This morning, Secretary of State
try to call him out, make him look bad. That's kind of what Trump thinks, at least. So, very interesting. Let's watch the other video too now. Oh shoot. Here we go.
Notice it came out right before
Hi, I'm Chuck.
campaigning
I'm
started,
standing here with the
election
worst switch
starts
driver.
and
As the Trump administration orders EU Ambassador Gordon Sondland not to appear in a closed-door interview with 3 Democrat-led House committees today, the White House is reportedly finalizing its strategy to counter Democrats' impeachment inquiry. According to the Associated Press, it is a 4-step strategy: stall, obfuscate. Yeah, you did it. See, I got Melissa's help on that.
You guys know what that means? Obfuscate. I had to look it up because I didn't know what it meant either. Basically, it's like to confuse. So Trump's going to try to make the Democrats look confused in their efforts to try to impeach him. So they're going to make it. He's going to try to make them seem like they're like confused and acting irrational. That's his goal.
Attack, repeat. Part of that includes the president's anticipated letter to Speaker Pelosi, rejecting the inquiry unless a formal vote is held, and then moving to cease cooperation with Capitol Hill on key oversight matters relating to House Democrats' investigation. Brad?
I think it's a great strategy.
You like it?
I love it.
You're a strategy guy.
And the main point is that the president, why should he be making it easy for these people to railroad him?
Right.
I mean, it's crazy. And then they have this righteous indignation. But now we've just added another count of impeachment. It's crazy.
This guy's a former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. This guy, Republican or Democrat? I mean, you can tell kind of based on the way he's even talking. He's on the side that this is all ridiculous and Trump should not be impeached. That's his opinion, right? You can kind of tell by the way he's like, oh, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe this is actually happening. And he worked for President George W. Bush, who was Republican, right? So he's probably very Republican. I'm only going to play like another minute because I want to give you guys time.
Good. Let's turn the clock back. Mueller gets his report. Months go by. Democrats are silent. Then before their summer recess, they say, the president is so dangerous to the Republic, he must be removed. Then they take the summer off. Now it's no longer about Mueller. Now they have the phone call. Aha, this is even better. It's the phone call. He needs to be removed now. We need to fast track this. Well, they do. They take 2 weeks off. And then they claim they want this resolved immediately. Well, it's not going to be resolved immediately.
Some Democrats will argue, though, that they were still doing the inquiry, through their staff and so on and so forth. I'm just putting it out there. Let's do the words, and you know which word I'm going to give to you. Who wants to take stall?
I'll take stall.
Interesting. Basically what they're saying is that this has kind of been ongoing and like this is just the most recent way that they're trying to make a motion for impeachment, right? The thing you guys don't know that I don't know like really show you yet is what the actual issue is. They briefly talked about it in the last video, but basically just briefly, Democrats are arguing that the high crimes and misdemeanors was a phone call that took place between Ukraine and Trump, the president of Ukraine and Donald Trump. And in that phone call, he basically was saying, you need to do some research into Joe Biden because he's doing some sneaky things with your government, and I want it to be looked at. And in a way, he almost kind of sort of mentioned that he'd be supplying military aid or support if he was to take up this investigation.
Say that.
That's all to interpretation, because in a scripted phone call, the whole thing is scripted, and anybody can access it. And actually, on this one, I think it briefly, in the packet I handed, it briefly mentions some of those scripts, but also on the online document I posted to Classroom. I don't know if you guys even, I think some of you said you read it. I posted a link to a document. In that document, there's little like sections of the actual transcript that like, if you read it, some of you may think, that doesn't mean anything. Some of you may think, yeah, he kind of does seem like he's saying he's going to supply support if he does his research, right? So that's kind of where it fits with that high crimes and misdemeanors. It's kind of like a gray area, right? Totally up to interpretation. So those were the couple videos I wanted to show you guys. We didn't get to Bill Clinton or anything today, which is fine. There's a lot of stuff here. I wanted to make sure you guys understood impeachment before we got into the specifics. But what I want to ask of you guys between the next 8 minutes we have left and tonight for homework 2, just answer question 8 and do your due diligence. Don't just fill it out right now because it's easy and you want to just get it over with based on your opinion. Do a little bit of research. You can use a variety of things. The document I just gave you is a great one. It's super short, it's to the point, and it's non-biased. It gives you both sides. Also, the link I shared on Classroom is a great one too. Read that one. It has the actual transcript. It's cut out. Look at that. And finally, if you guys want to look at some tweets from Donald Trump directly, go into his Twitter. read his opinion on what he says. Honestly, it's kind of fun to do that anyway. I go on his Twitter once in a while, and it's humorous just to see the things that he says. And honestly, this is the first time a president has been so active on social media that you can hear directly what he thinks by the minute, almost every single day. I think he posts on average like 20, 25 times a day, recently especially. He's very active on Twitter. He puts out his opinions as he thinks of them, I think sometimes. It's kind of crazy, but do some research on this, because now that you guys understand what impeachment is, you guys can make your own opinion on whether or not this is legitimate or this is just kind of BS, right? Jerry. What's going on? Oh, did you get, yeah, okay, you need the front. Cool. Yep. Here, you just have the front sheet. You got it, cool. Yeah, so guys, look at this tonight, give it a quick read over, and come in with question 8 answered. And tomorrow, I might even kick off the day with talking about, since we'll cover Trump on your own, I'll talk about Bill Clinton, because I have a funny video to show you guys, and we'll kind of look at that aspect too, and kind of see what things he was doing, you know, because his situation's interesting, so cool. So for the next couple minutes, you guys can just kind of get your stuff ready for tomorrow, and make sure you guys bring your constitutions tomorrow too, all right? Cool. That's all I got for today.